Hello, everybody. I am Brian Carroll. This is Jay.
Hey, Jay Wayne Garnett, how y'all doing?
We're here tonight, like last week when I came to you guys and we were talking about dreams and visions. Tonight we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to focus on children. A lot of times I get asked when teaching about dreams and visions, what about my children? Can you help me help my children understand their dreams and visions? Or my child has so many dreams and so many visions. What do I do? How do I help them with that communication? But before we get into that, I want Jay. He's here to assist me and to ask questions and just bring out some things that probably some of you all have or want to ask, but maybe not able to ask. So he'll be asking some questions as well. And Jay, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you represent?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay Dwayne Garnett, and I please apologize. I'm actually sharing the video with other people who may not be friends with Brian as of yet, but I feel like after today, he probably will get a lot of random friend requests. So accept the people.
Okay.
But I am the co-founder, along with my wife. We have an organization that is called Love is a Parable. And the whole purpose of Love is a Parable is unity. That's our mission, and we believe the best way to get there is through love. We actually have a learning paradigm that consists of an 8-week program that helps people identify love and understand how love answers, love lives, and love opens. But additionally, we want to make sure that they're getting that love education, love advocacy, and love wellness that they need. We have a host of other programs and initiatives that we have that help us get to that mission of getting love out there and getting us to unity. And you can find that at loveisaparable.com or find us on all social media platforms by putting in the hashtag Love is a Parable, or you can search Love is a Parable and you will find some way to connect with us. Our inbox is always open if you have more questions, because I'm sure as I ask questions, you may have more questions from me, but always visit Love is a Parable, and I'll be sure to get back with you in a timely fashion.
Great. Thanks, Jay. That was awesome. Jay is doing a lot of great things here in North Carolina, and I'm so happy that we finally got a chance to sit down and talk and discuss some things and become friends.
Likewise.
So once again, we're going to be talking about dreams and visions with children. And I'm going to be talking from my book, The Dream Factor. So I want to make sure you guys see this. It's The Dream Factor, Invasions of the Night Demon. Everything that I'm talking about tonight, that we're talking about tonight, you can find it in the book. And the book will go into greater detail than what's going to be released tonight. So I wanted to share with you guys. I know last week I shared, and probably some people's minds exploded or disagreed with me. And I even got a couple of inboxes on Facebook asking me about this. And I wanted to say this again, that 99.99% of the dreams that we all have are about us.
So were you getting questions or concerns about the fact that the dreams are not about us, or?
It was more like, so what are you saying? The dreams that I have are, and I see my dead grandmother and she's coming to me with a message. You mean to tell me that was about me and it didn't have anything to do with my dead grandmother?
Gotcha.
No, it didn't have anything to do with your dead grandmother. The dream was about you. Even dreams when we have about a coworker or even a boss, or I know in the past I've had dreams where I would see my wife in my dream, and we would have an argument in my dream, and I wake up mad. You know what I mean? But that dream was not about my wife. It had nothing to do with my wife. It was all about me. So the characters that we see in the dream that we have are about us, 99.99%. Now that 0.10,
Come on, get it out.
0.01%, that is about, that could be influenced by demons or from our soul. And we're talking about the soul. You want to understand you're dealing with your mind, your will, and your emotions. And a lot of people don't see that. They just say, "Oh, my soul," but you have to break it down and understand what part is speaking and where's this communication coming from. Because a lot of times we're led by our emotions, and then there's other times we're led by the way we think.
Right.
So we have to understand that. So tonight I want to get into it and talk about, even with our children, when they dream, 99.99% of those dreams are about them. You're talking about kids who have these fantastic dreams about them flying. So we have to understand that communication. Why are they flying? They're not going to literally wake up and start flying. Even when they're having dreams about someone chasing them, a man with no face chasing me, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or some animals chase me. That dream is still about them. It may be horrific for the child, but that's the time where the parent can actually sit down and discuss all the details in the dream so the child can understand what's going on in the dream.
Well, I have a question. So, because there were people who didn't tune in last week, so I guess this is a great time to tell them the difference between dreams and visions. Because I read the book, so I'm cheating, so I know a little bit about it. So maybe I think those who just tuned in be like, "What is he talking about, and what's the difference?" Okay,
so last week when I was telling you guys the difference between dreams and visions, most times when you dealing with a dream, the dream will reveal God's, not his plan.
Okay. And so a dream can happen at night a vision can happen at night when someone's sleeping.
Yeah, most definitely. In Isaiah, and I can't remember what the scripture is, but I'll find it for you guys, where it is very likely or possible when you're sleeping that you can have a vision. And a lot of times this is what happens with people. They'll have a vision and they'll think they're dreaming. And one of the ways that you can tell if it was a real vision, you really have to look at the communication. And like I explained it last week with the vision could be about you as the visionary, and also with the characters that's within the vision. And what makes the difference is, in the vision, the person that's having a vision, they're actually actively involved, and they'll be able to see themselves. It's just like watching TV. You can see the characters acting out.
In a dream?
No, vision.
In a vision, okay. It's like watching television.
Right.
Got it.
And you are one of the characters in that vision, in that television show.
So you're the third person watching yourself. Got
exactly.
it.
And it's different from a dream. Now, when you're dreaming, you can see the action and the characters, but you won't be able to see yourself.
Got it. So one would think, I can see where the confusion comes in, because one would think a vision is a dream and a dream is a vision.
Right.
I think that clarity helps a lot.
And it also goes back to that number one thing is I was asleep.
Yeah.
So people always say, well, I was asleep, so it must have been a dream. No, you can still be asleep and have a vision. So let's get back to
that was kind of heavy. No, you're just going to throw that out there like that was something simple.
Well, I've been involved with dreams and visions for years. I mean, growing up, I had the ability to understand my dreams and visions. So I don't want it to play it off like it's something simple, but when I want everybody to understand that you are able to understand your own dreams and visions, but the correct way to do it is to know the difference.
Got it. But there was some weight he just dropped, and he had like it was nothing. But go ahead. We're going to let you finish.
So, like I said, with the children, 99% of their dreams that they're having is about them. There are times when children have visions as well, and I believe it's because some parents have the lack of understanding about dreams and visions, where they are not able to make the difference and explain it to their children, whether it's a dream or a vision. Because a child can't really articulate, "Oh, mom, dad, I had a vision while I was sleeping." No, they're going to say, I had a dream.
Right. Because we're conditioned to believe because we're asleep, it was a dream.
Exactly.
Got it.
Here's one I want to throw out to you that's even in the book. One day after I was teaching on dreams and visions, my wife asked me, she said, "So what Martin Luther King, his message, when he described his message, I have a dream," she said, "Well, is that really a dream?" I said, "No, he didn't have a dream." And I know a lot of people are not going to like that, but it's the truth. He did not have a dream.
So he had a vision.
He had a vision.
I had a vision.
Right.
One day, I got it. He
had a vision. Remember, dreams are more symbolic.
Got it.
Visions are more literal. His vision came true. You see the difference?
Got it.
Visions are more literal, where you'll see it come to pass. Dreams are symbolic. That's why you need to understand the interpretation of the communication.
Dreams are symbolic. Visions come to pass.
Yes.
So are visions a form of prophecy?
Now that's where we get to that thin line that we talked about. It can be a form of prophecy, but we have to understand what is prophetic, because a lot of time, even today, what people think is prophetic is not prophetic. It's just the word of knowledge and the word of wisdom.
No, look, see, Sherry, this is why we can't invite good people over here. Because look at Sherry. Sherry made her way over here, Brian.
She said, "Take your white pantyhose off your."
I will not. I will not be bullied by you on his show. But that is some serious weight, because a lot of people automatically call visions prophetic, and a lot of people call dreams because they're asleep. But understanding the difference between something that is symbolic and something that comes into fruition is huge. So a lot of times when people say my dream was correct or my dream happened, it really wasn't a dream. It was a vision.
But see, and that's what we have to understand too, that thin line when you're talking about vision being prophetic. So the vision came to pass, but was it truly prophetic, or was it a word of knowledge or a word of wisdom?
Got it. Okay. So based off of that, Martin Luther King, that's a great analogy. So Martin Luther King had a dream, but it really was a vision. But was it prophetic?
It was prophetic.
He's about to keep going. You can't just stop there.
Yeah, well, it was prophetic. If you look at the content of his speech, he said one day, I had a dream that one day that he'll see black boys and white boys and
little black girls and little black boys.
Right.
Yeah.
And his vision came to pass, and that was prophetic because he saw what God was showing him.
I'm gonna let that marinate. You can go ahead. That's too heavy. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I think that's like extremely heavy. So I'm gonna let you get back to that while I marinate.
While you marinate, okay. So, but in the same token, it's the same thing with kids. We as adults, we disqualify children because of we think they're just children, or because of their lack of experience, or because of their age. But believe it or not, children have a more ability to hear clearly what God is saying, because their perception is not so screwed. The way they hear and see things is not so messed up. They're not holding any biases against anybody. You know what I mean? So they're more apt to hear God much more clearly when it comes to dreams and visions, and even in the prophetic realm too.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna let you go before I ask my other questions.
That's why I really wanted to talk about children, because we don't take the time out to really take the message. We'll learn something as adults, but do we take it back and let our children understand what we just learned so we can teach them and have them walk out daily in everyday life with dreams and visions. I gave an example one day when I was teaching on this, and one of the examples was a child was telling the parents that they had a dream about a bear, and the bear attacked them.
Mm-hmm.
And the child woke up. So in this dream, and it was an actual dream, not a vision. So in this dream, how would you explain this communication to your child?
You asking me?
Yeah.
If my child had a dream about a bear and the bear attacked them, I usually go into I usually go from a symbolic standpoint. And I would say, tell me about the bear, tell me what the bear looked like, who acts like a bear, you know what I mean? And then we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about, tell me what you're feeling and all of that. We typically go that route. And I think the advantage that we have is my wife is a dreamer. So she spends more time talking to them about symbolism in dreams and what they could mean. Like, for instance, my child has dreamed about snakes, but snakes don't necessarily always be a bad thing. Snakes can also be wisdom.
Yes.
Snakes can also be knowledge. Snakes can be some form of idolatry worship. So it's so many different contexts that you have to pull out before you just say, oh, you dream about snakes, that means nothing good is happening.
And you know what? Let's stick to that point, because a lot of people, when they ask me about interpreting dreams, that's one of the things that really stop or hinder people from really understanding the communication. Just because you dreamed about snakes or even spiders does not mean somebody is putting a hex on you or practicing witchcraft, which that has nothing to do with witchcraft. Witchcraft is a work of the flesh. That's sorcery. Okay?
And if you're down south, we call it roots. Yeah. We call it roots.
So we have to understand, even with the snakes, the spiders, and the bears, just because somebody else had that same character in their dream, and that dream probably meant something not good for that dreamer, doesn't mean just because you had a similar dream with that same character that it means the same thing.
Got it.
And a lot of people think that. For example, there was this young lady who had a dream, and she had a dream about spiders, and the spiders covered her entire house. Now, she went to somebody to have that get the interpretation. And the interpretation that they gave her was like, oh, somebody's doing witchcraft against you and your family's in danger. And I don't know who it is, but you need to leave your church. You need to do this. And I mean, just gave them all a negative report. Now, here it is. I want to pose a question. If we are supposed to be prophetic people, why do we always go to the negative first?
Well, I think that's actually several dynamics. Because one, you have to think about from a cultural standpoint. Then you got to think about from a regional standpoint. And then you got to think about a denominational standpoint, then a religious standpoint. And I think all of that influences judgment. And I think the best way that you said, I used to have this pastor that I always say, we need to silence our thoughts. And that's one of those things. I think all of those influences sometimes clog our minds to the point that we can't even hear clearly because we have so many different things that we've picked up along the way.
Right, and you're talking about our perception, and I totally agree with that. But if you're saying that you're prophetic, that you shouldn't weigh something spiritual on your perception.
You shouldn't, but they do.
Exactly.
Well, what about the people that always say like that they're a prophet, so they know?
You know, like so I know.
Yeah, like they just go in and out like, well, I'm a prophet, so you can't tell a prophet. So clarify that for me, because you have some people who wear the prophetic office as if it's a garment that they always have on, and everything that they do is prophetic.
Well, first off, the first mistake is if they're saying it's an office, that's totally wrong because it's not an office, it's a gift.
Ooh, you gonna make some people mad?
Good.
Ooh.
It's not. You won't find it when he gave offices, he gave gifts. It's not an office, it's a gift. That's the first mistake.
Well, Sherry actually agreed with you. She said that children can see clearly. And then you got Apostle Cesar Carinando said correct when you were talking about, you was distinguishing the two. And Sherry said that they're scary, the spiders, is because they're scary. That's why you think something negative when it comes to the spiders. And then my mom is telling Sherry to look at you. Stop looking at me. She told me I ain't got no hair. I do got hair. I need a haircut. And you will not embarrass me on this live. But carry on. You said you were talking about how prophetic is not an office.
Right.
Uh-huh.
The other thing, why prophets say because I'm a prophet and listen to me and they take that stance is because they have not been taught correctly. And a lot of those prophets are lone prophets, meaning they don't want to submit because I have the gift of prophecy and I'm a prophet and the Most High called me. They don't want to submit to somebody's authority. The other one is I really chalk it up to inexperience and lack of understanding the gift.
Okay. I actually understand that, but because some people confuse years on earth with maturity.
Yeah, no.
And they're totally different. So you could be a 67-year-old babe in the sense of when it comes to the prophetic gifting.
And since you brought that up, that goes back to our topic tonight with the children. We just because they're children does not mean that they're not able to hear and understand God clearly. But when it comes to dreams and visions, there are some children that I haven't met any, but that may understand the communication that they receive from their dreams and visions. I mean, I understood the communication, but I didn't have anybody to express it to.
Gotcha.
And this is why we're making this available, because there are children, I believe there are children out there that understand the communication from their dreams and visions, and then there are some who don't, but we need to get together as parents so we can teach them and get that understanding. But first, the parents have to get the understanding.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking what's more damaging in that situation is a parent who doesn't know and their child has a gift and they can either stifle that gift, discourage that gift, or break that child altogether.
That's good. But then, and now let's flip that. Those parents who say, okay, my child had a dream and my child had all these dreams and I had all these visions and they done came to pass, my child is a prophet. No, that does not mean your child is a prophet.
What does that mean then?
That means your child has the ability to understand dreams and visions.
Okay. So what assumes a prophecy? Like what makes a person a prophet?
God.
Okay. Not man.
Not man. And not dreams and visions.
Okay.
Not dreams and visions and not man.
Okay. That's something to marinate on.
So it's just like, I've seen several parents where they would say, oh, my son or my daughter is a prophet because of the dreams and visions that they had and they came to pass. And they want to groom them up to be a prophet. So what you're actually doing is really damaging them than actually helping them, because perhaps God has not called them to be a prophet. Maybe he called them to be a teacher. Maybe he called them to be an administrator. Maybe he called them to be in the ministry of helps. But you want to put them in the office or the gift, office, that's what y'all call it, the office of a prophet. And it doesn't work. And in the long run, what happens when the child grows up thinking they're a prophet and then they meet someone who helped them understand the gift that they're trying to develop in, the correct gift, develop them in that correct gift, They'd be like, all these years, I grew up and thought I was a prophet. No, not a prophet. So having a child who can understand dreams and visions does not make them a prophet at all. It makes them have ability to understand dreams and visions.
So even if your dream and vision is prophetic, that still doesn't make you a prophet.
That is correct.
That just makes you a person who has had prophetic.
That makes you that
vision.
You see, here's the thing. We're looking at the gift of a prophet, and then you have gift of prophecy. We all have the gift of prophecy.
So we all can flow in and out.
We all can prophesy.
Down south, y'all call it prophesizing. We're gonna be prophesizing.
So I want to ask a question out there to the parents. Think back to a time when you were a child and you had dreams or you had a vision and nobody was around to understand that communication, or you didn't understand that communication. What did you do? I mean, how did you respond? How did you get through that dream? Especially if it was a traumatic dream for you, or even a good dream. I know a lot of times when people growing up, and even myself, I would have dreams of me falling all the time, like just falling endlessly, just out of nowhere, just falling.
Yep, I used to have that dream as a kid. Right before I hit the ground, I always woke up.
And that's a common dream. Even today, kids are still having that same dream.
So what does that mean? If we all share the same dream, what is that?
It may be similar, but it's not the same dream.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because we're individuals, and the way you fell may not be the way that I fell. I probably fell off a building. How did you fall?
I can't remember. It had to be a bridge.
See, you see the difference?
Yeah.
All that all that takes in count of the communication. So to really understand the understanding of why you're falling, you have to look at the whole dream. Where were you when you began to fall? What were you around? Because all that takes, all that has a part in the communication. It's just like me and you talking, but before we talk, I was talking to somebody else to relay a message to you, but I left out part of that message, and now you can't do what you need to do because you didn't get all the communication.
Like the telephone game.
Exactly.
My mom, Lois Garnett, said, I was told that snakes are our enemies, and I was asked, did I kill it?
Well, that depends on the type of dream that you're having. So you have to look at the entire, if it was a dream, you have to look at the entire dream to determine whether or not it was negative. And I'm going to put this out there too, because I always tell people this, I'm not an interpreter. I just have the ability to interpret and to understand the communications from dreams and visions. I am not an interpreter. So don't put me on that pedestal because I won't accept it. I'm not an interpreter, but I do have the ability to understand communications from dreams and visions. And why do I say I'm not an interpreter? Because the interpretation comes from God. If I say that I'm an interpreter, then I put myself higher than God. I will not do that. The interpretations comes from God. So always, whenever you're having a dream or a vision, ask him first.
I didn't know where to go after that, guys. I saw he went into. I saw the pastor coming out. I was ready. So I have this question then, because you say interpretation comes from the Most High, and you're not an interpreter because that's an office reserved for Him.
Right.
So one who assumes that they are an interpreter, or one who has been an interpreter, what are they? They're just vessels used by the Most High to interpret dreams. Like, what was Joseph?
Joseph was not an interpreter. He had the ability to understand dreams and visions, but he got that ability from God. You read it, when the Pharaoh asked him, he said, does not interpretation come from God? So he was telling you, don't call me, or don't put that office or that title on me as an interpreter, because I'm not an interpreter. That comes from God. What I'm going to do is relay the message that he's giving you.
Okay, so now I got several different questions. So if that wasn't interpretation, or that wasn't a quote unquote office of interpretation, but he was used as a messenger, what's the difference in that person that's used as a messenger or a person who's a prophet?
The difference is a very thin line.
It seems like I live in thin lines. My wife said that she was taught the same thing. She said it took her a long time to share her dreams with her parents because she was also taught that snakes were bad things. But the thin line that you were talking about, because I live there.
So, why is a thin line? Because anybody can have the ability to understand the communication from your dreams and visions. We all have that ability. Whether we have the fullness to understand that communication is up to that individual. But if we ask God, He'll give us the understanding. He'll give us the interpretation. He'll show us what that symbolic dream means. He'll tell us what that vision is. So we really take the time out to ask Him and listen. He'll give us that interpretation. Now, when it comes to a prophet, that's totally different because a prophet is not only a mouthpiece for God, but there are some prophets who don't have the ability to interpret dreams.
Ooh, that's heavy.
But they'll say they do. Why is that? They're because you see it on Facebook. They're giving so much false prophecy. They're giving false interpretation of dreams, false interpretations of visions. Just like the example that I gave you with the lady and the spider. That was somebody who said they were a prophet and they gave her a false interpretation, told her to leave the church and her family is in trouble. Somebody, was doing witchcraft against them. And that's not what the dream even meant. So that's the thin line because people have the title of being a prophet, they think they can do all.
And I get what you're saying because interpretation, an interpreter is not an office.
No, it's not.
It's a gift.
No.
What is it then?
Interpreter is if like you speak in a different language and I give it back to somebody else. So if you speak in Chinese, what I'm going to do is take your Chinese and convert it into American.
Okay. Well, Sherry has a statement. She says, my mom and sister have the gift of interpretation, which was given to them by God. No,
it's not a gift.
What would it be?
Like I just said, it's an ability to understand. We don't interpretation. Wait a minute. No.
I would say, isn't
it is a gift. Interpretation is a gift. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. But we have to understand interpretation.
I was about to go to Corinthians.
Yeah, I know you was.
We was ready.
Interpretation, but when it comes to interpretation, we really have to understand and look at the word really clearly, understand what the word says. So that interpretation, it involves not just interpreting demonic, where a lot of people think that's all you dwell in when you're interpreting things. No, interpretation is interpreting not just demonic presence, but also angelic, and it's the spiritual realm.
Okay.
So you're in the spiritual realm with that interpretation when you're understanding.
Okay. And Sherry was backing you up when she said, because it's not their gift, that's why they can't interpret it. And then Lolita said, thanks for clearing that up. Because everybody was ready. Everybody about to pull out them Bibles like, hold on. So we're glad that you did clear it up. And we'll turn it back over to you because I see you guys. You told me to look up a passage in Isaiah?
Yeah.
What did you want me to look up? It was something about dreams?
Yeah. Where it was they had a dream and a vision at the same time.
Okay. Well, while you're doing it, I'll be looking.
Can you go to one of my Facebook chats and I can show you where it's at?
You said one of your Facebook chats?
Yeah. Can you use the other one?
Yeah. Oh, she said preaching and it said awesome. So we was ready. I told you.
I was ready. I said, I'm sorry. I looked again. I had to hear myself say it like wait a minute, interpretation. Yeah, interpretation is.
And I was like, no, I remember that verse.
So, I wanted to share something with you guys that I put in the book too, about psychologists and look on here, James.
I look, you talk. I got it.
Psychologists and scientists have discovered that if you stop someone from dreaming, they'll suffer physically and emotionally after 48 hours of dream deprivation. And I'm saying this because a lot of times I know as parents, you'll probably tell your children, oh, that's just a dream. And I coined that as just the dream syndrome, where, you know, parents have told their children, oh, no, that's just a dream. It don't mean anything. But it does. We have to take that communication and really try to understand it. And when we deprive them from sleep or from dreaming, that's dream deprivation. Yeah. And some of the symptoms of dream deprivations are irritability, depression, weight gain, hallucinations, loss of reasoning, logic, understanding. Your immune system, it doesn't function properly. So those are some of the symptoms when we deprive someone from dreaming, even if you are depriving yourself from dreaming. I know as adults, I've come in contact with many adults where they say, I don't dream. And I'm going to have to say, no, you do dream. You just don't remember your dream. You may not dream a lot like other people, but you do dream. And the time you dream, you don't remember those dreams. And that's probably because somewhere along the lines where you probably been told it's just a dream, don't pay attention to it, it's not important. And what we do, because we have that message of it's only a dream, it's not important, when we begin to grow up, we'll continue to have dreams and be like, oh, it was just a dream. And what we do is train our thought pattern. We train our mind to say, oh, it's just a dream. And so if it's just that, why would I remember it?
So all I got out of that is I'm fat because I don't dream. That's my story, and I have proof. I'm going to start telling people I'm overweight because I don't dream. I'm dream deprived. Dieting is over.
So, wait a minute. So
healthy eating is over.
Do you even dream at all?
I dream rarely, so I feel like I have dream deprivation.
No, this is within 4. So there's
you
been
said
a lot,
weight gain.
There's been a lot of 48 hours in your life, because this
see, you're proving my point.
This has only happened after 48 hours of dream deprivation.
And I'm going on years of dream deprivation, and I'm fat. See, weight gain. That's me.
I don't think so.
I'm going with it. I feel like you said it, and I'm going to use it. And let me see. You know it. It's okay. Why do people always believe fish means someone is pregnant? That is a good question.
It is a good question, and I take it back to our perception. Remember, when we talk about perception, our perceptions are based on society, based on religion, based on the things that we were taught, the things that we grew up knowing and taught from our family. So those are our perceptions, and perhaps it's because of how we grew up. We grew up hearing people saying, oh, I had a dream about some fish. Oh, Sally must be pregnant. Oh, Joan must be, you know what I'm saying? So we grew up hearing that. And what we've done is we take that and added it on, saying, okay, so next time somebody dreams about a fish, somebody's going to be pregnant. And what happens is somebody get pregnant and like, oh, that must be true.
Do you think that it's also because we connect our faith to certain things that people tell us? Like if someone says something and then we as believers start to believe that influence certain things to happen?
I believe so. It's just like faith works both ways. You can believe in God or you can believe in the enemy. And either way, you're going to get some action.
So that's what it is. Two things that I've gotten from this, which is cool. One, I'm fat because of dream deprivation. Two, even if something is wrong, if you start to connect people with that, you will get action either way. And you got to be careful with what you connect to and what you start to agree with.
Yes.
Okay. So I turn it back over to you. Thank you, psychologist and Brian, for giving me an excuse for being fat.
What did Sherry?
Sherry is crazy. She said, "Why do you have me on your show?" She says, "Because I have a lot of intelligence and I'm extremely handsome, and I'm a person that doesn't like food that much." That's what it said.
I didn't see that.
What are you talking about?
I didn't see that.
Well, you know your eyes back. Go and finish reading.
So here's the thing too. When it comes to children and dreams and visions, a lot of parents have said that they take the left side of being a prophet and say, "My child have a third eye." Have you heard that?
Yeah, it was symbolized by the snake. But go ahead. I'm just saying.
So, but I want you to know that is so wrong. Your child does not have a third eye. Not at all. And then with kids that are having bad dreams, nightmares, I've heard parents go out and get dream catchers.
Oh boy, me and my wife can tell you a story about a dream catcher.
Woo! So before you tell us the story, so the legend is of the dream catcher is that it attracts good dreams while catching in the center of it the bad dreams in the center of the web. And it's supposed to be a sacred object that blesses those who use it, and bring good luck, pleasant dreams, harmonious thoughts. But what I've discovered that it's not. Dream catchers is truly demonic. I believe it was a tool that was demonically influenced.
Demonically influenced for good or demonically?
If it's demonically influenced, it can't be good.
Well, I'm just saying because I have to clarify because you do have some people that will say what the devil meant for bad, God meant for good.
Right. And I understand that. Thank you for saying that. Demonically influenced for bad. So why would
But they always say that though. Like they say, when you put God on it, it changes it. It changes things.
No, it don't.
I'm just saying.
God don't even work like that.
I'm just a messenger being used.
No, God
it's
don't.
Not me.
God don't even work like. He won't even work like that. Why would God involve Himself in some mess?
I don't know.
Because that's what we created it. So now we need help. We need to put Him on the God, take care of this demon. Why is He gonna do that when we can do it? He gave us the authority and the power to do that.
And the funny thing is, I actually agree with you about that dream catcher mess. About that dream catcher. Look, the dream catcher was the devil. When me and my wife first got married, our part of our honeymoon was in the mountains, and we were both asleep, and it was like something was like jumping on us, attacking us, like whether she was asleep or I was asleep, and we couldn't. And then we both looked up and saw it was a dream catcher. And so we tried to take the dream catcher off the wall, but it was nailed. And so it was like, okay, well, maybe we acting crazy. So we prayed. And that night it happened again. So we went upstairs and slept in the room that did not have a dream catcher. But then when we looked in the corner, it was one there. So we ended up sleeping in the living room where there were no dream catchers. We closed the doors and everything. And that was the first time that we were able to sleep. Needless to say, the next day, we left. We left
Of
the
course.
cabin, the mountains, and everything. And to this day, we don't like dream catchers for that very reason. And I kid you not, that's why she said it. They are the devil. And then Tara said she came in at she jumped in at an interesting time.
Look, so this is what something else that I put on here with dream catchers. Dream catchers is not a way to prevent children from experiencing bad dreams or even adults or nightmares, because this is a tool that is used or suggests alliance with the occult, superstition, and like I said before, demonically influenced, and not for good is for evil.
So this predates the Native Americans and all of that.
It does.
Okay.
If you look, again, this information about the dream catchers and where it came from, it's in the book. It's in here. In my book, The Dream Factor, Invasions of the Night Demon. It's all in here about the dream catcher, and even how to help your child. If you brought one, there's some there's some things that you need to do to take care of to get that out. And not only that, you have to begin to minister to your child, because, like I said, that it just shows that you are aligning yourself with the occult, aligning yourself with superstition. So you're taking on, say, here, Jay, I'm giving you this. Now you take it. Not only did you just take it, but you taking on that responsibility of what it is and everything that came with it.
But a lot of people feel like because their heart was in the right place, therefore it'll be okay. She's talking about, that's right, get that holy oil and drench them with it and pray over them children.
Well, man, you said what now?
Well, some people believe that if their heart is right, then everything else will work out. Meaning, well, I don't believe in that, so therefore it can't be true. Or it won't happen to me. Meaning, some people will say, well, no different than Halloween is coming up. Some people say, well, I don't believe in all that, the devil stuff. I believe it's okay to let the kids dress up and they'll be fine. People say the same thing. I think dream catchers are cute decorations, so therefore I'm going to keep collecting my dream catchers.
Okay, I'm going to say this, Jay. And because my Apostle Robert and Apostle Dixie, they taught on this, what I'm getting ready to say.
I think Apostle Dixie is on.
I'm great. So what I'm getting ready to say this, and I want you all to hear me clearly. Ignorance is not bliss. A lot of people say, well, ignorance is bliss. No, it's not bliss. Bliss is something that's beautiful.
Okay, or enjoyable.
So if you say that you enjoy your ignorance in what you were just saying, mm-hmm. How people say, well, because my heart was right. No, you're being ignorant. Just because your heart was right does not mean that that situation or whatever it is, that thing is right.
I actually wrote in my book, ignorance is not bliss, it's an abyss. So a lot of people don't understand that this is where the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You can mean good all day long, but if you're ignorant to the fact, you can actually march yourself right down the wide road to destruction.
Right.
Because narrow is the way, and this is why we have to, fine-tune our ears, fine-tune our eyes, and making sure we're open to even having discussions like this, because you never know what things are opening or closing by being open to a discussion like this.
Yeah.
So, my mom said this is very interesting.
Hey, I'm doing a lot of talking, right?
I'll give you his number, Mom. And she said, off-subject question. If people don't believe in celebrating Halloween, then why do they believe in Christmas, Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny?
You want to take that? Because I don't celebrate Halloween. Christmas, it depends on how you define celebrating. Santa, no. Tooth Fairy, no. Easter Bunny, no. And that was something that I always challenge people on too. What does Bunny have to do with Christ?
Well, then
Yeah.
Well, I guess people going down the rabbit hole of the influences that influence a lot of quote unquote Christian behavior. I don't think a lot of people are prepared to have an in-depth conversation about those things. I think people come into those conversations defending their right to be, right to exist. They're not open to the possibility that what I'm doing is wrong. Because just like you talked about dreams, I think some of the things that we do are symbolic for other things.
Right.
Like some people celebrate Christmas not even about quote unquote Christ, not about any of that. They celebrate because this is a time our family get together. So when you say don't do something, you're saying to them, not don't celebrate Christmas, don't spend time with your family. And so I think that people interpret things so differently. And I think that that's what happens. Your phone. Okay. So I think that that's one of the things. And then Sherry said, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to stump y'all. I always wanted to know. Well, Sherry, I think that that's a conversation for something deeper. And I think that not only do I think it's deeper, I think that that is a great conversation that needs more time than the 8 minutes that we have left to discuss that. And then he said, parents who lead by example will not only embrace and talk with their children about their dreams and visions, but they will also share their own dreams and visions. This will create intimacy and validate trust in you and in themselves. Creativity, self-expression, responsibility in the process of awareness. So I think that a lot of times when people look at certain things, Sherry, he had a phone call. When we look at certain things, when it comes to that, I think when we talk about being open to certain possibilities of what things that you went through and how the things that you went through can be a learning lesson, but also making sure that you're taking the time to really research some of the thoughts, some of the things that you went through, some of the things that you believe, and realizing, did I believe correctly? See, sometimes having these conversations forces a level of accountability and forces a level for you to do more research to have a conversation about a child. And this is not just for parents, but this is for anyone who does influence children, whether you're an aunt, an uncle, a grandma, it doesn't matter, a teacher, or even a community representative. You can influence and be the example just by embracing the process of what dreams are like. They were wondering when I told you went to the you had a phone call, and then you were on your knowledge check.
Right. So here's some things that I wanted to highlight for parents that have children that have dreams and visions. Write down their dreams. Have them write it. If they're able to write it, have them write it. Create a journal and let them know, especially with males, let them know it's a journal, not a diary, and it's okay that they have a journal. I can remember at an early age where I was writing. I love to write, and I have a lot of journals where I wrote all my dreams in, and I still have some. So that's one of the ways that you can help your child. The other one is ask God for the interpretation. So when your children come to you with their dream or their vision, remember, ask God first. Always ask Him first. Don't turn to social media. Don't turn to the so-called prophetic interpreter.
Google.
Don't Google it. Don't do that. And if you have dream books, I'm not going to say throw them out. I'm going to give you a word of caution to be cautious about it, because a lot of times, like Jay discussed and I tag-tailed on it, with those dream books, they'll give you certain things and say that's what it means all the time when you dream it. Like if you dream about the color red always means salvation. So I'm going to say be cautious about dream interpretation books. When I began to my early stages of understanding that I had the ability to understand dreams and visions, I did read them, but I don't consult them. So I hope you understand that. Whenever somebody asks me to help them out with that communication from their dreams and visions, I do not consult any interpretations from dream books. I ask God first, and there the communication comes.
See how Brian just dropped that heaviness? I do read them, but I don't consult them. How you just gonna drop that heaviness?
I did when I first started to understand that I had this ability.
Right, but that's heavy because a lot of people don't know how to do the difference. Separate that. They will read it and also consult by it, meaning they'll always go to it as if it's a guide to their dreams. That was something heavy. See, you dropping knowledge, and I'm sitting here like, sir, you gonna go back to that? But go ahead.
I mean, I could go back to it.
No, I'm just saying that was heavy and you went over it. So a lot of people don't know how to do that. In several things, like a lot of people use other resources in addition to the scriptures, and they end up making those other resources their counsel, versus really taking that time to receive counsel from the Most High.
Right. Well, the best way of how to do that is don't read it. Well, I'm being honest with you. To really separate to really separate it is, I mean, if you do own these books, stop reading them and ask God. Or if you begin to see yourself wanting to understand that communication from dreams and visions, don't pick up the book first. Ask God first. Yeah. See, that's what happens. We'll run and go pick up the book and be like, oh man, what do this mean? And don't even ask God when he's the one that gave it to us.
I will say this though. I think that's where we all have to spend time, because as believers, and I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, when I wrote our training manual, one of the things that I made sure I didn't do was read any books and have no influences, because I wanted to make sure, it was a vertical impartation.
Right.
And even how we govern our organization is we make sure it's a vertical impartation. And one of the things that I tell them a lot of times is that you can't do anything unless the Father ushers you into that direction. And I think for believers who happen to be entrepreneurs, it's very important, because people who are not believers will tell you to read all of these different resources and consult with these things, and then they become your God in a sense.
Right.
They become your place of worship versus you going into an intimate worship with the Most High.
Right. Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because the purpose of me writing this book, and believe me, this was a long time coming. I was pushed by my apostles to go ahead and complete it, and my wife to go ahead and complete it. And this is not the end all. I'll be the first to tell you, this is not the end all. This is information to help you understand that you can understand the communication from your dreams and visions yourself. And it also has in here what to look out for, what to stay away from, and it pull back the disguise of those that are coming for you saying, I'm an interpreter.
That's good. So to help with that, it's more of a guide than anything.
Right.
Apostle Summers said, anything that takes you away from asking God is from evil.
Yes.
And I guess that's all that. She just dropped the mic and left, didn't she? But go ahead. So you're using this more as a guide, more as something to help them. So how can they get this book in their hands?
Well, you can inbox me on Facebook, or you can go to Amazon and you can find it on Amazon. And the best thing about this is to, dealing with Jay, because I asked him to go over the proofreading of the book. he had a lot of questions in the book, and that was really good because it challenged me. And what it did, it challenged me to make a workbook. He said, "Man, you know what? A lot of people are going to have a lot of questions about this. So you think about doing a workbook." And I did. I made a workbook. So there's a book and a workbook. I have not really been advertising the workbook because I really want to do some classes when people start buying the workbook, so we can actually open the lines of communication even on a greater level, where you can ask more questions in than what you are on this platform. So the other thing too that I wanted to get back to, ways that you can help your children understand their dreams and visions. We got write down their dreams or have them write them. Create a journal for them. Ask God always for the interpretation first, and then read and explain the Word of God to them. And I think that's one of the missing keys, along with asking God first. Take the time out to read the Word to them. And when I say that, take the time so they can understand what the Word is saying and how it applies to them today. The other one is take action and provide remedies with your children, especially when they share their dreams and visions. So that means parents have to be more involved, engaged, and think of some remedies of how they're going to help their children understand their dreams and visions. And the last one is have them draw pictures of their dreams. Children have a great sense of imagination, and have them draw out their dream. And that would help a lot with that understanding.
Well, thank you for that. We've reached an hour, and I thank you guys for also participating in the discussion, especially with people who are just meeting you for the first time via this way.
Yeah.
But also, I think that there are a lot of lingering questions. So will you be having this discussion again, or what's next?
I do want to continue this discussion, and I would like to have it on a Monday. And if I don't have it, I'll let you all know. But as far as now going forward, I will have some more discussions about dreams and visions. And even if you have dreams about the other giftings, prophetic gift, you can even tune in to Mondays at 7 p.m.
Well, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to inbox Apostle Brian L. Carroll. His inbox is always open. Yep, we're actually going to start calling him ABC. But right. Because he got the ABCs of the dreams.
ABCs of the dreams.
Right, the ABCs of the dreams, ABCs of the visions, because I do have some more questions about vision, so I definitely look forward to that discussion. My wife said that was a great idea with drawing the pictures. And so if you don't have anything else, we have reached that mark.
Right, I want to remind you, go ahead and get the book. And thank you for your support, not just for purchasing the book, but for your support tonight. I really appreciate the questions. I thank you all for being engaged, even making us laugh. And I also want to thank Jay for coming on and assisting and asking questions and bringing you all that are new to me.
No thanks needed. You will be seeing a lot of me, but you also will be seeing a lot of Brian, because we want to make sure that we help him get this word out, especially in the RDU area, because it makes no sense for all of this. You see how he's so used to spending time in his thoughts. He's dropping deep nuggets as if it's casual conversation and moving on. So we want to definitely make sure we create opportunities for other people to come check and experience the ABCs of dreams and visions.
Yes.
That's it?
Yeah.
All right, good night. And if nobody else love you, if you don't believe nobody else love you, know that Jay and Brian does.
Apostle Robert, that's hard.
Oh, hey, Apostle. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, we on pause.
Nope, it ain't go off. Let's try it again.